Are you caught between the stress of not getting paid what you're worth and not knowing how to get paid what you're worth? I'm Carly Myers, your friendly stress management expert, and this month we are talking about stress and work. And I brought on Stephanie Heath, who is a job search consultant that helps soft spoken men and women land soul aligned 6-figure corporate careers. Her global online business has transformed the lives of thousands of underpaid and uninspired professionals by teaching them how to tap into their corporate worth, interview powerfully, and negotiate high 6-figure salaries. Her work has been featured in LinkedIn as an expert voice, The Muse, Hello Giggles, as well as in-person and online workshops, turning awkward interviewees into confident, multiple offer earners around the globe. Now, this is actually her second time on the show, backed by popular demand. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Hey, Carly. Thanks for having me. Hey, guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, for those of us who don't know you, we don't know your story, would you mind sharing a little bit about how you got into this line of work?
Yeah, so I built a career in recruitment. I managed lots of important teams at, really a variety of companies, some large, some small, Sony, Amazon, a lot of finance firms, investment banks, and hit some burnout. Took 2 years off to just kind of find myself and came back. And decided to go into business for myself when I realized that I don't think that managing recruitment for a company is right for me. And so it was the best decision I could make. Super happy to just work with people one-on-one. And that's where I am now.
I love it. I love that you've been there. Like you've been inside, you know what the process is like, and you're giving people that inside glimpse as to what they should be doing. So, speaking of what we should be doing, what are your tips for getting paid what we're worth?
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you guys a peek behind the screen. I think a lot of job seekers just don't know what's happening on the back end, and I'm just going to work through some common feelings that pop up when a lot of people are negotiating. So the first thing that you want to do when you're setting yourself up for financial success, not being chronically underpaid at work, is just understanding that you don't need to feed into the guilt during the job search. So the first step is just, understanding that negotiations start during the first round. So, what happens is that the recruiter, they will, be making friends with you and, hearing your story. And then, one of our biggest objectives is to kind of get, what you're looking for. And we'll ask you that. And it's kind of up to you, depending on your personality. If you are someone that likes to negotiate, then you can, or you're someone that's comfortable being direct, putting up boundaries, then you can, state the number that you're looking for. Definitely be really well researched so you understand what is appropriate for you to ask for, and then asking for maybe 10K or 15% more so you have some room to negotiate down. And if that isn't you, if you're someone that is new to negotiating for whatever reason, or you aren't really good at putting up boundaries and you're not selfish in life normally, then it may benefit you to just say, hey, I've seen some variance in the market, curious, or would be happy to hear what the budget is for this role, and then letting them state the first number. And then if it's in line with what you've researched and what you are looking for, then you can indicate that. So I did want to be clear with this first tip, is that the negotiations do start on the first round. We have about 3 objectives as a recruiter or a founder or anyone, and that's one of the numero uno ones. So that's that. And number 2 would just be to employ this thing. I don't have a name for it yet, but it's kind of like in one ear and out the other. And it is when you stated your ask and it's not what they're looking for. So maybe they say something like, to be honest with you, COVID hit and, we've been going through so much change. We don't have a budget for that right now. Or they say something like, well, we'd love to bring you on. Is it okay if a year from now, we discuss maybe bringing you more in line with what your expectations are? Or they give you some sort of, not to say this wrong, but like a sob story that, feels true. The thing is that there are candidates out there that don't have those feelings. They really just look at work as black and white. So when someone tells them this, it goes in one ear and out the other. Again, they just approach life separately and they're just more business minded. But I know for a lot of us, me included, we really take in that guilt and those feelings, and we're just like, you know what, okay, I understand. But I really want you guys to commit after hearing this episode that you are just going to be the CEO of your own life and employ what, you know, a lot of these other candidates are doing, which is that in one ear and out the other, you know, unfortunately, because you do have to think about, well, do I want to pay for my child to go to this private school, or will I, you know, will I just have them do this thing? Or, you know, I want to take this 4-star or 6-star vacation with my spouse, but, you know, let's do this 3-star thing. You know, you have to think about, you have to put yourself first, basically. So you can either have a sticky note on next to your phone that has a ton of exclamations, or, you know, have the be selfish screaming in your ear and have our podcast up, right? Or just remember your spouse and just remember what's important to you. And so just let the person speaking to you, let them wash over you and just come back out. And then that's when you're going to employ a bit of strategy. So let's say they say, you know, again, we really want you and we can't for XYZ reason. Is that okay? Right? That's when you just take a pause. You acknowledge their honesty and transparency in the process, and you acknowledge where they are as a company and their decision. And that's when you ask a clarifying question, and it can be any question in the world. You could just say something like, yeah, you know, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. It's so important that, you know, we hear these things. And again, I appreciate that you have been more of a partner and a teammate in this, because you know, I'm not used to negotiating my salary. I'm wondering if you'd be open to sharing how you guys came to that decision. And that's all you need to say. Just say like one question, whatever question, and just let them start talking again. And they're going to start talking, and just listen and just have it come in one ear and out the other, honestly. And that's when you bring it right back to your initial ask. So this is what you're going to say. You're going to say, again, you're going to go through acknowledging them. I appreciate this. Thank you so much. I really was excited when I spoke to Barbara or Mike, and for these reasons. And, you know, at this time, I am looking for XYZ amount, because some of the opportunities that I'm in the interview process with are considering me at that amount, or I have been represented at that amount. And, you know, there's some other things you can say, but basically what you're going to do is just, you're going to just restate your ask. And then, you know, that is the negotiation. And then just the third tip is to manage the final conversations by employing vagueness and letting go of the need to provide information you don't want to share, i.e. just setting up boundaries. So we'll bring it back to that first call. As a recruiter, it's my job to get everything I can get out of you, because it helps me build a case for both my company and for you. So, you know, if you don't have 5 or 6 interviews happening, then it may not benefit you to share that. It may benefit you to say something like, I have a few different opportunities happening. So that's it, just in a nutshell. Yeah.
Love that. And I love that you provided us some tactical tools for, like, the whole time you were sharing those tips, I was imagining back when I worked my 9 to 5, sitting in the HR office, you know, having that conversation and,
Mm.
you know, asking those clarifying questions in one ear, out the other, and then again, stating what you need. Um, I can absolutely see why your clients are getting high level 6-figure offers. And I know that there's so much more that goes into this. So for those of us who, you know, feel like they could use a little bit of support during this process, where can we find you?
Yeah, best place to find me is Career Coach Steph on Instagram, or Stephanie Heath on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Perfect. So we want to know, for those of you who are listening, which tip about negotiation blew your mind? Which tip are you ready to implement during your next interview? Now, if you're feeling a little bit overworked and exhausted, I've got some good news for you. The Stress Less Company works with high achieving CEOs, business owners, and managers just like you to find that sense of peace and freedom that they desire. And as a result of our work together, they learn how to properly manage their time, tasks, and energy so that they can experience more free time, efficiency, and prosperity. Sounds pretty great, right? Well, you can apply for a complimentary stress less clarity session with yours truly today to start the conversation about working together. Visit stresslessco.com/apply. That concludes this episode of the Stress Less Show. I want to give one last big shout out to Stephanie. Thank you so, so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know by giving us a big old thumbs up and hitting that follow or subscribe button. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.